Um, so I touched on that yesterday. This is because people run around saying that the Bible has a mate to it. You know, the all these other non-records, the Bhagavad Gita, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. You know, these are all so-called sacred records that people say is written by the Lord. Okay, so that was part one yesterday. I did a whole class on that, part one yesterday, showing that that's not so. The Lord never did that. That's not so. That's not true. Okay, so we could always retouch that at some future point, some future time. Then what you need to understand is about church and churches and the church that is in the Bible. Okay, that's what you need to understand about, because a lot of people out here is lying, running into buildings, believing that these pastors is going to save them with their doctrines and so forth like that, them using the Bible to set themselves up as pastors of the sheep of the Lord. So these are false teachers that are out here. These are false teachers that are out here teaching false doctrines. So any pastor that says that he is a man of the Lord, number one, once he's coming with you with doctrine, meaning that he's Seventh-day Adventist, Pentecostal, Jehovah's Witness, all these different things, this is where they get that from. Let me read that to you, where they get that stuff from, okay? This is where they get that from. So for you to understand that, that is a vomit, okay? That is a vomit. Sorry, I'm just cleaning something. Got something sticky on the Bible and stuff like that. Okay, it is a flood water. It is a dirty water. These doctrines are dirty waters that are sent forth from Satan, okay? From the demon Satan himself. And men buy into that. Men buy into that, okay? Men buy into that. So let's go into the book of Revelation 12, verse 9. So when you go into the book of Revelation 12, verse 9, let's see where all these false doctrines come from, right? It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. See that? So Satan deceived the whole world. How did he deceive the whole world? Through philosophy and doctrine and religion. See that? Which is in opposition to the word of the Lord. So when these pastors is giving you doctrines and so forth like that, and yet reading the Bible, they're teaching you lies. Because the Savior never came up with Roman Catholicism. He never came up with Christianity. He never came up with Pentecostal. He never came up with Seventh-day Adventists. He never came up with Jehovah's Witness. He never came up with Baptists. He never came up with Mormons. He never came up with Seventh-day Adventists, all these different things. He never came up with any concept. He never came up with any concept. But where did these concepts come from? They came from Satan. That's why it says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him. See that? So what did he do then? What did he do then? What did he do? And the serpent was cast, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman. See that? So now I'm going to use this. So water as a flood, you can't drink this. This is like a liquid form like water, and you can't drink this. Why? Because this is poisonous to you. So a flood is poisonous to you. A flood is poisonous to you after the woman. Now the woman is Israel. Okay, the woman is Israel. So this was cast out. All these false philosophies and ideologies that you buy into, that you suck on, that you drink, is water, right? That she might be carried away of the flood, that you might drown. But why was this done? Because you turned from the Father. So you turned from the living water. You turned from the living water, right? From the Father. And this is what you got. You got the filth. You got the filth. So that's why now you go up into these churches You think that it's right. Then you go into these philosophies and you think that it's right. So this represents Islam. You think that that's right. And this represents Egyptology and Kemet and all that garbage. And you think that that's right. And you think that that's right. See, that is as simple as that. That's why it says, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood. So now this is liquid form. These philosophies is liquid form. So now you're drinking in it. You washing in it. See that? That's what happened. But why? What did you do? Let's go into the book of Jeremiah now. Let's go into the book of Jeremiah. Let's see what you did. Let's go to Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter. Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter and the 13th verse. It says, for my people have committed 2 evils. What is the evils? They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters. See that? The fountain of living water. So now we left the Most High, who was the living water in his son, and have hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. So he hewed out. These philosophies don't give us life. Water is life. These philosophies don't give us no life. See that? So they have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters. Okay? So this is why we are where we are. This is why we are where we are. So now we got to come back to the Father. We have to come back to the Father. So what do? Who is the Father? Let's go into the book of 1 Samuel, 2nd chapter. Who is the Father? It's 3rd verse. He says, talk no more so exceedingly proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth. For the Lord, our Father, is a God of knowledge. See that? Is a God of knowledge. And by him actions are weighed. So now you need to know and understand about tonight's class, which we're going to start about, right? Which is this. The evolution of the word church from the Old to the New Testament. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into. That's going to be the first part. It says the word church is never once used in the Old Testament. So it goes through 4 stages. Stage 1, the tent. The first tabernacle or house of the Lord was in a tent. See that? The tent was a portable sanctuary that was set up by the Levite priests of the nation of Israel in order to worship the Lord while still having a nomadic lifestyle, dwelling in the wilderness for 40 years. See that? Stage 2, the temple. Solomon's temple, which was first constructed by his father David, but the Lord refused to allow David to complete the temple because David had too much blood on his hands from defeating many nations at war. Zerubbabel's temple, which was built by the Israelites after returning to Jerusalem from the Babylonian captivity. So this is the 2nd time that the temple was rebuilt. Okay. Herod's temple, Herod the Great, a Caucasian man. See, this is the 3rd time the temple was rebuilt, who would replace king over Israel by the Roman Empire, rebuilt and enlarged the temple around 20 BC. See that? So, first we moved from a tent, then we moved to a temple. But now, is this the temple that the Lord wants us to pray to and so forth like that? Let's look at that, right? Let's look at that. Because we got into serious idolatry of idolizing, and even to this very day, there are Israelite groups that still pray towards that temple in New York. Why? Because of this prayer here. Okay, so let's go into something called the Solomonic prayer in Chronicles. Okay. Let's go into Chronicles and let's go look at what's called the Solomonic prayer. Chronicles, Kings. Kings. Okay. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. Let's look at this. This is called the dedication of the temple and Solomon's prayer. Right? So like I said before, many Israelites still pray and follow this prayer here to this very day. Even when we were in the school at One West, they had us follow this, pray to the east and so forth like that. So we're going to see this. We're going to understand what it's dealing with, and then we're going to see what Christ said. Did Christ pray to the temple, or what did Christ drop? See that? Who was greater, Christ or Solomon? We're going to see what Christ dropped. So this is the book of 1 Kings, right? This is the book of 1 Kings. The 8th chapter and the 22nd verse, right? So now you must understand that King Solomon came after King David. King David being a black man, King Solomon is a black man. And a lot of people probably say, well, how is it that we know that King Solomon was a black man? Okay. All throughout the Bible, there are many descriptions of the Israelites being people of color or black. Okay. In many different ways. Christ, starting with Christ, the Most High is a black God. If you go to the book of Daniel 7 verse 9, if you go to Revelation, Moses being black, the Egyptians being black, these are biblical facts. These are biblical facts. These are historically accurate facts in the Bible. Okay? So you got to wake up, open your eyes, stop being lied to, or come out of the delusional sleep that you're in. 1 Kings 8 chapter 22nd verse. Let's go. So why am I reading this? I'm reading this to show you the second stage of the evolution to the word church, and that we never had a church that you go to now in the Old Testament. So where did we as a people go? This is the coming of what's called Solomon's temple, right? And all the way up into Hera. And Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in the presence of all the congregation of Israel, and spread forth his hands towards heaven. And he said, Lord, power of Israel, there is no power like thee in heaven above or in the earth beneath, who keepest covenant and mercy with thy servants that walk before thee with all their heart, who have kept with my servant David my father, that thou promised him, Thou spakest also with thy mouth, and hast fulfilled it with thine hand, as it is this day. Therefore now, Lord, power of Israel, keep with thy servant David, thy father, that thou promised him, saying, there shall not fail thee a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, so that thy children take heed into their way, as they walk before thee, as thou hast walked before me. And now, power of Israel, let thy word, I pray thee, be verified, which thou spakest unto thy servant David my father. But will the Lord indeed dwell on earth? Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house now that I have built it? So what did he say there? What did he say there? He said, do you know how great the Father is? The heaven and heavens, the universe. This is the 27th verse. The universe cannot contain the Father. Do you know why? Because the universe is inside the Father. The Father is above the universe, beyond the universe. The Father is the universe. That's why the best example he could give is that he said, the universe. So the Father is so great, so huge. This being called God is so great and so huge. Let's read it again. So Solomon is saying, but will the Lord indeed dwell on the earth? Can the Lord indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven. Okay, so the heaven is what you see. And then the heavens of heavens, what is out there, cannot contain him. They cannot contain him. So that's like using this as a graph, like saying, if this is the entirety of the universe, it's not even big enough. It's not even big enough. That's what he's saying. It's not even big enough. How much less this house that I have built it? Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servant. Now, why did he say that? Let's look at a verse, right, of the Lord's name to back that up. Let's go into Exodus, the 2nd chapter. Let's see why he said that, right? Let's go into the book of Exodus. Let's go back. Let's see why did he say the heaven of heavens cannot contain him, right? Let's go into Exodus, the 3rd chapter, and let's look at the name of the Father to show you how broad that name is, how huge that name is. Exodus, the 3rd chapter, and the 11th verse. And Moses said unto the Lord, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh? See, he was being humble, right? Because he knew Pharaoh was like a god. You understand? He's like, man, I'm nobody coming to this dude, that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt. And he said, certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the children out of Egypt, you shall serve the power upon this mountain. And Moses said unto the Lord, behold, when I am come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, the power of your fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them? So what name? Names are limited, but let's look at the name that he gave himself that was not limited. And the Lord said unto Moses, I am. See that? So when King Solomon said, the heaven of heavens cannot contain you, so the Lord is not bound by these laws. The Lord is the laws that make up every and anything. He says, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am, have sent me unto you. That's it. He said, I am. There's nothing you can name me. See that? So I just use that to back that up in 1 Kings, the 8th chapter, right? So let's come back to 1 Kings. Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servants and to his supplication, O Lord, my power, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prayed before thee today, that thine eyes may be open towards this house, night and day, even towards the place of which thou hast said, thy name shall be there, that thou mayest hearken unto the prayer which thy servant shall make towards this place. And hearken thou to the supplication of thy servant and of thy people, when they shall pray towards this place, and hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, when thou hearest, forgive. See that? So now the center, the place was supposed to be a crux, was supposed to be a center, because the people was praying to that center point. See that? Of, Jerusalem. I mean, to the temple, which was the center in Jerusalem. So everybody was drawn to that center point. See that? Everybody was fixated to that center point. So people began to worship that center point. Right? And hearken thou to the supplication of thy servant and of thy people Israel, when they shall pray towards this place, and hear thou in heaven. So I guess the place sent the prayers up, right? Now, you're going to find that the New Testament is going to contradict this. The New Testament, what Christ drops in the New Testament, is going to contradict and obliterate this, because this was set only for a time. See, you got to understand. That's why there's something called the Old Testament, the old way, and the New Testament, which is the new way, which Christ came to bring. If any man trespass against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him, to cause him to swear, and the oath come before thine altar in this house, then hear thou in heaven, and do and judge thy servants, condemning the wicked to bring his way upon his head, and justifying the righteous to give him according to his righteousness. And when thy people Israel be smitten down before their enemies, because they have sinned against thee, and shall turn again to thee, and confess thy name, and pray, and make supplication unto thee in this house. See that? So you got Israelites here in New York now trying to follow this like we did, and make supplication unto thee in this house. Number one, we're not in that house anymore. And that house is now overrun by our enemies. That now is our house of filth. That's not the original house. All it is the wall, right, which is called the Wailing Wall, which was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. So number one, the house is not up, okay? Number two, the house was taken down, all right? So all it is a wall. So now, then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy people Israel, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest unto their fathers. But wait a minute, Christ came to forgive us. See that? Christ came to forgive us. That old way was what Solomon said, and the Lord honored that, but Christ wasn't walking the earth at that point in time. See that? Christ wasn't walking the earth at that point in time. When heaven is shut up and there is no rain because they have sinned against thee, if they pray towards this place, see, everything is praying towards the temple, and confess thy name, and turn from their sin, which thou hast afflicted them, then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy servants and of thy people Israel, that thou teach them the good way wherein they should walk, and give rain upon the land which thou hast given to thy people for an inheritance. Listen to this well. If there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, blasting, mildew, locust, or if there be caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatsoever plague, whatsoever sickness there be. See that? So we got plagues and sicknesses amongst us. So all these brothers is praying now back to the east, but that's not changing the prophecies that has already been laid down. That's not changing the prophecy. See, these prophecies, the Lord said his word must go forth, and it cannot come back to him void. So Solomon's prayer could not cancel out the destiny of the prophecy curses which we had to fulfill. Let me show you. Let's go in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah 55, verse 8, going down. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. See, people they can't figure it out, because the Lord got his way that he gonna do things. It's not based on your way. So he wrote one thing one way, and now it's another way the other way, because it's his thought. For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven returneth not thither, but watered the earth and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of his mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing wherein I sent it to. So his word, which is the spirit, could not come back and say it did not accomplish the prophecies that he had laid down, the destiny for the nation of Israel. So we could pray to the temple all day, just like we did in 70 AD. It didn't stop the prophecies. It didn't stop the Romans. That was the destiny. So he just pulled back. Like, yo, deal with them. Deal with them. I don't care. They could pray to the temple all day that they want. This is going down. So his word, which is the Holy Spirit, cannot go out void. That's why the Bible is destiny of the world. Everybody's tied up into this. It doesn't matter what you think, how you think. It's going down. It's going down. That was Isaiah 55, verse 8 down to 11. Okay? That's the Lord's Spirit. So now let's go back to the temple. So there are many Israelites praying to this temple right now, facing the east, as we was taught, doing the four corners, we was facing the east. Why? Because they follow something here called the Solomonic prayer. They follow something here called the Solomonic prayer in 1 Kings, the 22nd chapter on down. Look what Solomon is saying. 37 verse. 38 verse. What prayer and supplication whosoever be made by any man, or by all thy people Israel, which shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hands towards his house. Hear thou then in heaven thy dwelling place, and forgive, and do, and give to every man according to his ways, whose heart thou knowest. For thou, even thou only knowest the hearts of all children of men, that they may fear thee all the days that they may live in the land which thou givest unto their father. Moreover, concerning a stranger now. Now Solomon is praying for the nations now, right? Concerning a stranger that is not of thy people. Now see how the hypocrisy? Because a lot of people say the strangers are of the nation of Israel. But wait a minute, Solomon is making it clear. He's making it clear. Moreover, concerning a stranger. Now let's see who the stranger he's going to make is going to be clear, right? Concerning a stranger, which is not of thy people Israel, but cometh out of a far country for thy name's sake. So he makes it clear. So what, Solomon is a liar? Look, I've dealt with many of these different topics in debates and all these things when I used to debate people. You understand? There's a big argument and contention about this Gentiles and strangers and all these different types of things. You take it as it is. It says, but for they shall hear of thy great name and of thy strong hand and of thy stretched out arm, when he shall come and pray towards this house. Hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for, that all people of the earth. See that? So now he makes it clear that all people of the earth, this is Solomon making it clear that not only Israel, but that all people of the earth may know thy name, to fear thee as do thy people Israel. So now he's making a separation and a distinction, and that they may know that this house which I've builded is called by thy name, right? And if thy people go out to battle against their enemy, whithersoever you shall send them, and they shall pray unto the Lord towards the city which thou hast chosen. See that? So Jerusalem is the city of the Lord. Jerusalem is the city of the Lord. Okay, not Mecca, not New York City. See that? Not Paris and all these different places, because a lot of people don't believe that Israel is the chosen, Jerusalem is the chosen city of the Lord. So there's Solomon clearing that up right there in front of your face, right? He says, and thou shalt send them and shall pray unto the Lord towards the city which thou hast chosen, and towards the house that I have built for thy name. Then hear thou in heaven their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. And if they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not. Great point. A lot of Israelites lie and say that they keep the law of God. When you say you keep the law of God, then that means that you are perfect. Because if you keep, that means that you never committed any sin. Right? Look what he says real clear. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not. Okay? So that's why I never tell anybody that I do not commit sin, that I keep the law of the Lord and all these things that I was taught. Like I'm so perfect now. You understand? I don't. We was breaking the laws then when I was in that school, and we're breaking them now. Cats is breaking them now, left, right, and center. You understand? Coming up with their own rules. You see all these different camps and stuff like that. Different leaders saying this, switching up, twisting up, charging 20% tights and all these different things. You're sinning, man. You're sinning. You're doing what you want to do. Okay? So there it is. Solomon saying, for there is no man that sinneth not. So don't let nobody tell you that they the this, they the grand poobah, they the grand schmoozah, they the grand this of the Lord and stuff like that. Man, you just a man just like us, like everybody else. And thou be angry with them and deliver them to the enemy, which they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy far and near. Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they are carried captives and repent. Now here come the point. And make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them away captives, saying, we have sinned and have done perversely, we have committed wickedness, and so return unto thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies. So now this is what they use, that we in the land of the enemies, when we was at a school called One West, the head school back then in the 90s. So now we in the land of our enemies, as they broke it down to me back then, and were led away captive and prayed towards thee, towards their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, the house which I built for thy name. See that? So Ariel, which was our teacher then, he had us follow this, right? Then hear thou their prayer and their supplication in heaven, thy dwelling place, and maintain their cause, and forgive thy people that have sinned against thee in all their transgressions, wherein they have transgressed against thee, and give them compassion before thee, who have carried them captive, that they may have compassion on them. For they be thy people and thine inheritance, which thou broughtest forth out of Egypt, from the midst of the furnace of iron, that thine eyes may be open to the supplication of thy servant, and unto the supplication of thy people Israel, to hearken unto them in all that they call unto thee. For thou didst separate them from among all the people of the earth. That's another point Solomon was bringing up. We are separate. We are different. The nation of Israel is different. The people of the nation of Israel is different. Okay? He's saying we are different from all the people of the earth. Okay? See, the Bible gives you points. You got to sit down and study and look at what the points is saying. A lot of people try to say, well, the Lord doesn't make a distinction. You're lying. He just made a distinction. He just said he separated us, right, from among all the people of the earth to be thine inheritance, as thou spakest by the hand of Moses thy servant, when thou broughtest our fathers out of Egypt, O Lord, power. And so it was that when Solomon had made an end of praying all his prayer and supplication unto the Lord, he arose from before the altar of the Lord, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread up to heaven, and he stood and blessed the congregation of the Lord of Israel with a loud voice, saying, blessed be the Lord that have given rest unto his people Israel. See that? So now we were at rest, okay? He brought us home to our land, which he promised us through Father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, okay? He kicked out a lot of the nations because the land was rightfully ours, so he brought us to our rest, okay? Now he's settling us down. Now he's setting up a temple. Okay, he's setting up a temple. It's a temporary place, but he's setting it up. So now we at rest. The 57, the Lord power our be with us as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us nor forsake us, that he may incline his hearts unto him, that to walk in all his ways and keep his commandments and his statutes and judgments, which he commanded our fathers. And let these my words wherewith I have made supplication before the Lord be nigh unto the Lord our power day and night, that he may maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel at all times, as the matter shall require, that all the people of the earth may know that the Lord is power and that there is none else. Let your heart therefore be perfect before the Lord our power, to walk in his statutes and to keep his commandments at this day. And the king and all the people with him offered sacrifice before the Lord. And Solomon offered a sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered unto the Lord. 22,000 oxen. 22,000. You know how much blood that is? Let me read it again. And Solomon offered a sacrifice of peace offerings. 22,000 oxen. Listen, these things are being killed. These animals is being killed. And blood is coming out. So these priests had blood all over them. You talking about entrails and all kinds of things, man. This is a gory thing if you really want to think about it. You really want to think. That's just the oxen. That's just the oxen, man. Wait, it gets worse. And 120,000 sheep. Wow, you're talking about animals killing, being brought up and slaughtered. And this you had to do. These priests had to sit there. They didn't have no mask on. They had to cut these things open, clean them out. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of the Lord. The same day did the king hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of the Lord. For there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before the Lord was too little to receive the burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And at that time Solomon held a feast, and all Israel with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before the Lord our power, 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days. And on the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king and went into their tents joyful and glad of heart. See that? So he's now dedicating the temple. He's now dedicating the temple. Remember, I'm still on the first part of this, the evolution to the word church from the New Testament. Where we first lived was in tents. See that first part? Where we first lived was in tents for 40 years. Then we moved into Jerusalem. After Joshua, we went down and took Jerusalem from the heathen, from the Canaanites. And then David fought the Hamites in them. And then finally David gave his son Solomon, since David was an architect, how the Lord wanted the temple to be set up. Solomon was the one that finished the temple. That's what you're reading here, the dedication of the temple. Okay? So there were 3 times that this temple of Solomon, which is called the Temple of Solomon, was destroyed by the heathen. The Lord allowed that. The Lord allowed it to be taken down. This place that we idolized and venerated. Let's look at that. See, you got to get into all this stuff. For you to know the Bible that you read, that you sit down and you read and stuff like that. Do you really know the Bible, man? Do you really know this book? Wait. Let me show you that Solomon was a black man. Song of Solomon. Let's see that Solomon was a black man. The songs of Solomon, which is Solomon. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine. Because of the savor of thy good ointments, thy name is as an ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. Draw me, we will run after thee. The king hath brought me into his chambers. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine. The upright love thee. I am black. Wait. 5th verse. Solomon says, I am black, but comely, handsome. The word comely means handsome. Solomon said, I am black, but comely. O ye daughters of Jerusalem. Solomon had women, man. Solomon had women. As the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. See that? I am black. So there it is. The writer. It's up to you for you to believe. Okay. So now, I'm moving on. Man, I forgot my point about King Solomon. Got some good time here. So I'm moving on, right? Yes, now remember my point. The Lord allowed the temple to be destroyed. The Lord allowed the temple to be destroyed because we were wicked. We became enemies to the Lord, and the Lord used the nations. The Lord used the nations to wreck us. Okay? The Lord used the nations to wreck us and he took the temple down. Lamentations, the 2nd chapter. Let's start at the 1st verse. I get through this topic. He says, how have the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger? The daughter of Zion represents Israel. The Lord was mad at us. And cast down from heaven. See that? We were in heaven. So heaven doesn't mean necessarily a place out there. Heaven can represent your land, your place, the state of being that you're in. Okay? If you feel good, you are in heaven. You spiritually, mentally, physically, you're in a heavenly state. The so-called white man is in heaven right now on the earth because of the lands and the things that he's done. See that? In heaven. So when we were in our own land, we were in heaven. Now that we're under somebody else, we are in hell because we have to listen to their dictates, their laws, their rules, their regulations. What they say goes. And cast down from heaven unto the earth. The earth represents hell because now we are under nations. The beauty of Israel, and remember not his footstool. So the land of Israel is the center of the earth because the Lord, heaven, throne sits directly above the land of Israel. So his footstool, the throne, the footstool is sitting directly on top of the land of Israel. So why did he do that? Why did he cast us down? Let's jump down to the 5th verse. The Lord was an enemy. See that? The Lord became our enemy. He has swallowed up Israel. He became our enemy. He has swallowed up all her palaces. He has destroyed her strongholds. So that's how the temple got pulled down. And have increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation. He has violently taken away the tabernacle, as is of a garden. He has destroyed his places of the assembly. See that? So there was no such thing as a church. It was a place of assembly. When we came together, that was a place of an assembly. There was no such thing as a church. Okay, those are later on terms. He has destroyed his places of assembly. The Lord have caused a solemn feast and the Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and has despised in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest. The Lord has also cast off his altar. He has abhorred his sanctuary. So Jerusalem and the temple, he cast it off. He's like, man, I'm done with this garbage, man. I'm not going to fight for this anymore. He has given up into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. See that? So Jerusalem got destroyed because of that. Jerusalem got destroyed because of that. Because we forsook the fountain of living waters. That's what I started with in Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter. We forsook the fountain of living waters. So he's like, yeah, all right, I'm not the one, man. You get me mad. It's problems. The Lord hath purposed to destroy the wall of the daughter of Zion. He has stretched out a line. He has not withdrawn his hand from destroying. Therefore he hath made the rampart and the wall to lament. They languish together. Her gates are sunk into the ground. He has destroyed and broken her bars. So this goes all the way up into 70 AD, when Rome finished off the city. And it goes all the way to now. Her king and her princes are among the Gentiles. See that? So all our leaders are among the Gentiles. Who's the Gentiles? The heathen. We among them. We among them. The law is no more. Her prophets also find no vision from the Lord. See that? So this is where we at. Why? Because the Lord got mad at us. The Lord got mad at us. And since he got mad at us, we got slapped down. So once again, giving you that. But now I got to finish this piece off, because we were so enamored of the temple. That was the beginning of the first part. What is the second part? Is Solomon greater than Christ? No, he is not. No, he is not. What is the second part? That's why there's something called the New Testament. Let's go up into 1 Corinthians now.